So back in the 1980s, a prominent sociologist named Robert Wuthnow talked about the restructuring of American religion. And it's gone away from denominations. People don't care about denominations so much anymore. Matter of fact, other than seculars, the fastest growing tradition or religiously kind of related group is non-denominational Americans, right? Like or Christians who are non-denominational. In other words, they've just kind of jettisoned those ideas. And yet, what people are aligning around is political identities. And that is, sociologists have shown that that's one of the leading drivers of the growing number of Americans, especially younger Americans, who identify as the nones or the unaffiliated. Is that as Christian identity has become so closely connected with Republican or conservative politics, young people more and more, even if they believe in Christianity, even if they go to church or if they pray consistently, going to say, you know what, if that's what being a Christian is all about, if that's what I get tied to in my identity, then no thanks, I'm nothing.
Joining me now, Fox News contributor and pastor at First Baptist Church in Dallas, Robert Jeffress.
Joining us now to talk about it, Pastor Robert Jeffress, member of the White House Faith Initiative, pastor of the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Fox Business contributor. Pastor, always great to talk to you.
Joining me now is Pastor Robert Jeffress, member of the White House Faith Initiative, pastor of the First Baptist Church of Dallas. I know you're not a Catholic, but how would you console them in their hour of need?
Well, of course, as you recognize, we don't share that exact belief. We worship the same Jesus Christ. We worship the same Jesus Christ. We worship the same Jesus Christ.
Pastor, thanks so much for being here. Will Biden be able to siphon off enough evangelicals to win the swing states?
Well, to put it in religious terms, Joe Biden doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning any significant number of evangelical voters, especially as long as he and his running mate Kamala Harris run on the most pro-abortion platform in history, advocating abortion up until the moment that a baby is in the birth canal of the mother. To put it in religious terms, Joe Biden doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. To put it in religious terms, Joe Biden doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell.
To make sure all of this happens. But Robert Jeffress, I didn't know him, but I watched him, and I'd watch him on different shows, and I'd say, I like that guy. Man, he talks really great about me, and I like people that talk well about me. And he was saying, you know, he may not be the greatest Christian I've ever seen. He may not know the Bible quite as well as the rest of us. In fact, he may not know it very well at all. But that guy's a real leader, because I think we've made more progress toward faith leaders. We got rid of the Johnson Amendment, which was a disaster. We got rid of the Johnson Amendment. So I'd like to ask if Robert, if you could say a couple of words, and if I could also ask Alan Dershowitz to say, and then we're going to sign a very important document. Also ask Alan Dershowitz to say, and then we're going to sign a very important document.
Thank you. It is true. I believe President Trump is the most pro-faith president in history when you look at what he has done for people of all faiths. And Mr. President, you know, Jewish and Christian believers alike believe what God said to Abraham in Genesis 12, that God would bless those who bless Israel and he would curse those who curse Israel, that God would bless those who bless Israel and he would curse those who curse Israel.
I also have the privilege this morning of introducing our speaker, one of America's great pastors, great leaders, and great speakers. Dr. Robert Jeffress is the pastor of the historic 11,000-member First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas. He is an active, go right ahead, Texans. He's an active contributor to Fox News, has a daily radio program, Pathway to Victory, heard on over 700 radio stations, his weekly television program on 1,200 stations in 28 countries, including China, author of over 20 books, just led his church in a $135 million fundraising campaign for recreating and remodeling their entire downtown campus. Graduate of Baylor University, Dallas Seminary, and Southwestern Baptist Seminary. He has the mind of a scholar, the heart of a pastor, the voice of a prophet. One of the newspapers in Dallas has dubbed him the Texas Tornado. Give a warm Virginia welcome to our guest from Texas, Dr. Robert Jeffress.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Ed, so much. It is a real honor to be with you today. I have heard about Liberty. I have sent students to Liberty for so many years, but this is my first visit, and what a tremendous place this is. Thank you for the privilege of being here. I actually had the privilege of knowing your founder, Dr. Jerry Falwell, and what a great man of vision. I remember very well, this would have been about 12 or 13 years ago, Dr. Falwell was gracious enough to do an endorsement for my book back then that was titled, Hell Yes. And I remember trying to explain it to Dr. Falwell, and I asked him, would you be willing to write an endorsement for this book? He laughed and he said, well, he didn't actually say it, but you get the idea. He was a great man of vision, and to see Dr. Falwell's vision being carried on by President Falwell and his team, this is just great what you're doing here for the kingdom of God. Well, Dr. Falwell's vision being carried on by President Falwell and his team. This is just great what you're doing here for the kingdom of God.